News 4 never stops.
I've lost everything in my house. Everything. My mama's stuff, man, everything.
A wicked night of weather in the St. Louis metro leaves people in need of rescue.
All we saw was the rear window, and we could hear the tapping on the rear window.
Cars submerged and buildings crumbling. The flash flooding widespread and relentless. Tonight we have crews all over the metro area with team coverage of the impact of this urban flood.
Those heavy downpours, they've moved out, but I'm watching for another chance of storms tomorrow morning and tracking big-time heat returning to St. Louis.
Looking live outside right now, the weather is calm, but there is a mess on the ground in some parts of the metro area. Following a lot of flash flooding, the water rose so quickly this evening that it turned roads into lakes. In North St. Louis County, rescue crews had to take serious steps using rafts to get to trapped drivers. That type of scene played out over and over as the heavy rain pounded the area.
And tonight we have team coverage of the storm. Let's start with Erica Byfield live at the scene of that rescue. Erica, you spoke to one of those rescuers.
I did, Larry. Well, 3 Pine Lawn police officers actually put their lives on the line tonight to save an elderly man. The people who live in this neighborhood tell me that in 7 minutes flat, this street behind me went from an inch of water to about 10 feet deep.
All we could see was the tail end sticking out and the rear window.
But it was what they could hear that caused 3 Pine Lawn officers to spring into action.
Then when we heard banging on the rear window, Officer David Calloway and Officer Stephen McKinney swam in, broke the rear window, pulled the passenger out of the car, and swam with him.
Everything happened so quickly that the men didn't have any rescue gear, so instead of a rope, an officer grabbed and threw out this garden hose to help drag the driver back to shore.
The 3 of us were scared out of our wits. I mean, I can speak for the both of them, but they're trained police officers, and then when we heard the knocking on the window, we knew that we had to go in and save the gentleman.
By the time medical crews arrived, the driver's car was completely underwater. No one standing on the bank tonight wanted to think about what would have happened if the officers did not hear him banging. It may take them a while to get used to hearing it, but their mayor, chief, and even this reporter are calling them heroes.
Well, you guys were true heroes today.
Thank you.
Well, amazingly, that driver was not seriously injured. When they pulled him from the vehicle, he was complaining of breathing problems and he had a few cuts on his hands. But other than that, he was okay. Live in North Woods, Erica Byfield, News 4.
Hey, that's an amazing story. Good thing they got to him in time. Certainly heroes in this case, risking their lives at the time. We also found a lot of damage, especially damaged homes in St. Louis County.
News 4's Chris Negus is live in Bell Ridge, where some rushing water, Chris, hit an apartment complex.
Well, it certainly did, Vicki. This is the Springwood Apartments in Bell Ridge. And to make it clear, this was a dangerous situation. The police chief pulled in here tonight. He says the water was so powerful it nearly knocked his cruiser off the road. He felt the car floating. And just take a look at this. You can see the road here with this rushing water, the asphalt literally broken apart. The road crumbled. Part of the road picked up and flipped upside down right here. And as we show you this over here, this is pretty impressive. This sewer culvert, this concrete lid here picked up right off its base. Just shows you the force and how powerful this water is out here. Now I want to show you this. Take a look at this photo. This was taken by the Bell Ridge police chief, an 80-year-old woman standing in the water as it destroyed her apartment. At least 15 apartments out here are damaged, filled with water and mud. The streets outside are destroyed. And there's not even a creek around here. All this water appears to be runoff from a nearby hillside. One tenant told me it started raining, and within a few minutes her apartment was filling up like a fish tank.
I came in the living room and it was like water everywhere. So I tried to save my TV and I hurried up and unplugged the TV, and I ran and tried to unplug everything that I could to save it. And then I just came back and it was like, I looked outside and it was like, the water was about, I want to say, this high.
And as you can see, they've got some barricades, some makeshift barricades that are set up here to keep a couple of the roads for this apartment complex cleared off to keep people out of here because of all the damage to the roads. And just want to pass along a quick note, because there are 15 people now out of their apartments. There has been a shelter set up at Normandy High School, the American Red Cross assisting the people that live in here tonight that have lost pretty much everything. Live in Bell Ridge, Chris Negus, News 4.
All right, thank you, Chris. The metro area is still reeling from all that heavy rain. News 4 on the scene of flash flooding stretching all the way from North St. Louis County, basically right down Interstate 70 into St. Louis City and into Madison County. That's where we found Route 3 in Venice, Illinois, swamped. The water covering any cars that tried to go through. A tow truck called out to pull 2 cars that just didn't make it. The tow driver told News 4 it was the 4th time he had to wade into high water to recover a car. The driver of that red Mitsubishi thought he could make it if he followed an SUV.
I figured if there was any time that I was going to be able to make it, it'd be right then. So I tried, and the car actually died before I could get to even halfway.
Didn't make it, and inside the car you see a lot of dirty water. The tow truck driver told him the car is probably totaled. As it turns out, that car belonged to the man's wife.
Well, side roads weren't the only place high waters trapped drivers. Almost a dozen cars along the Interstate 5570 split in East St. Louis suffered the same fate. Look at these pictures. News 4's Deanna Zoga is there live tonight talking to drivers who, Deanna, say the water rose so quickly they barely had time to get out of their vehicles.
Yeah, Vicki, you know that flash flood caught a lot of drivers off guard on a very busy Interstate 70 right back there. In fact, the interstate was shut down for most of the night until just about half an hour ago when crews were finally able to clear up that mess.
It was raining so hard you couldn't really see in front of you.
Mary Lisa Heiderscheib was on her way home in this white Honda. All of a sudden, cars around her slowed down, and Mary Lisa noticed water seeping up through the floorboards of her car. And it was rising fast.
It was up to my seat, so I crawled out on top of the car, and then I could feel the car kind of shifting, and I started screaming, and the tow truck came and rescued me.
But the IDOT emergency services vehicle got stuck too, and everyone had to bail out.
And so we came swimming out of the water up to the viaduct.
At least 10 cars were left in the water. Rescuers say there were no injuries. Drivers either got out on their own or got help from the first troopers to get to the scene.
She called and said, hey, it's starting to flood. They're making us get out of our car, so we jumped in the car, and here we are.
She's okay, though?
She's fine. She got out. I think everybody got, emergency services got everybody out.
I think everybody's fine, just a little frustrated. I mean, 10 minutes difference in, leaving work would have made all the difference in the world. Oh, well.
By the way, you can tell by some of the mud on some of those cars, the water got up to about 4 or 5 feet at the height of this storm. That water tonight gone again at just 9:30 tonight. Troopers tell me they're finally able to reopen this interstate. Live in East St. Louis, Deanna Zoga, News 4.
Deanna, thank you very much. High water also slowed traffic on Interstate 70 in St. Louis. Look at these pictures. You can see the water covering part of the depressed section right in front of the arch. The water was actually a little bit higher, but of course that all slowed the evening commute. So much water there. The flooding also stopping Metrolink trains. A News 4 crew was driving through East St. Louis when they noticed the tracks covered between the Riverfront and 5th Street stations. Metro tells News 4 it had to wait an hour and a half for the water to recede, enough so that businesses could get through to pick up passengers.
News 4 also finding more damage in St. Louis City. Emergency crews responding to this building on North Broadway, North St. Louis. The flat roof of this business collapsing under the weight of the water. We did not hear any reports of any injuries. Now, Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton telling us for days about the continuing threat of heavy rain.
And Steve, it looks like it really caught up with us tonight.
Sure did. I mean, multiple rounds of storms over the past day or so really set the table for this flash flooding event. Here's how it all went down. This is the radar at 4 o'clock this afternoon. That little blip in North St. Louis, that's going to be our monster storm. In a matter of 2 hours, from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, this thing explodes and sits right there. Instead of moving, it just sits in North City, North County, and the Metro East. This is at 6 o'clock. The radar shows the heaviest rain from Granite City over to Jennings. In Jennings, 3 inches of rain in 50 minutes. 3 inches of rain is what St. Louis gets normally in the entire month of August. In Jennings, they got that in about 50 minutes tonight. It's no wonder we saw cars and trucks stranded in the water across the area. This is video from North City on North Broadway of a truck stalled out in those high waters. Water all over parts of North City, North County, and the Metro East, and scenes like that with the car stuck repeated. We also had a lot of lightning with this storm as well, and reportedly this damage at City Museum is from a lightning strike. Now it's on the northwest corner of the building. You can see them inspecting that damage, but there was certainly a ton of lightning. I'm happy to report we don't have any lightning or heavy downpours across the area. A little shower in Crawford County here is about it, and a spot storm possible in the overnight. We still could see a shower or thunderstorm tomorrow morning, but then the story really becomes the heat. As we see big-time heat returning to St. Louis, that's why the Weather Service has issued a heat advisory for tomorrow and Friday. I'll show you how hot it's going to get coming up with your 7-day forecast.
We will talk to you again. Thank you very much, Steve. This is the second time in less than 2 months News 4 has shown you severe urban flooding. Here's what it looked like along Natural Bridge on May 26th. We showed you how water covered the street, flooding both cars and basements. And in May, it rained for less than an hour and still overwhelmed some neighborhoods. A lot of flooding and damage out there tonight, so if you have video or you took any photos like these, you can share them with us. We'd love to see them, and everyone who visits our website, KMOV.com, can see them as well. Just submit the photo or the video to UNews, and then check out other users reporting on tonight's flooding.
All right, well, you've heard the saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Well, apparently that fell on deaf ears with this elephant. The animal went on the attack when his trainer tried to feed him a carrot. How the man got away without serious injury. And an unusual DUI arrest. Police pulled over a man for driving a motorized shopping cart while he was drunk. Why he says he took the
I know
cart.
you're getting ready to go to bed. Have a good night's sleep. And remember, a lot can happen overnight in St. Louis, but the News 4 Awake team is ready to hit the streets with 3 different news crews to cover all the overnight developments. So keep it on 4 and start your day with us tomorrow. Awake with News 4, starting at 5 a.m.
You're watching News 4 in high definition.
Tonight, a high school basketball coach is accused of sexually abusing 2 students from the school where he worked in St. Louis County. Brent Woody is charged with 14 counts for incidents from last year. The 26-year-old coached freshman girls basketball, and he was a substitute teacher at Parkway Central. Both girls are students at the school. The district says Woody left the school at the end of the last school year. Tonight, police are investigating what they call the suspicious death of a 22-year-old woman. They found her body inside a minivan in an industrial part of Pacific, Missouri. So far, investigators have not released the victim's name or said how she died. Family and friends tonight are mourning the death of this 21-year-old from Chesterfield. Paige Hicks was bicycling across the country for a fundraiser when she was struck and killed by a tractor trailer. Paige was in southwest South Dakota. Witnesses say she had stopped on the side of a 2-lane highway to check her text messages. Paige was studying biology at Brown University. She graduated from Marquette High School, and police say they probably won't charge the driver.
In Chicago, juries of Rod Blagojevich's corruption trial will have to decide if he's guilty without hearing his side of the story. Today, the defense for the former Illinois governor rested without calling a single witness. Blagojevich explained why he agreed with his attorney he should not testify, even though for the past year he promised he would take the stand.
Sam Adams Sr.'s most compelling argument, and ultimately the one that swayed me, was that the government, in their case, proved my innocence. They proved I did nothing illegal, and that there was nothing further for us to add. I've learned a lot of experiences from, I've learned a lot of lessons from this whole experience, and perhaps maybe the biggest lesson I've learned is that I talk too much.
Well, tomorrow morning, the judge will decide whether to throw out some of those corruption charges. A storm in the Caribbean is stopping efforts to plug the oil well in the Gulf of Mexico. The cap holding back the oil might have to be reopened. In fact, there's a 50-50 chance that bad weather could form a tropical storm by Friday that would force workers to abandon the area. This crowd of thousands is pushing the government to allow deep water drilling in the Gulf. They called this event in Louisiana a rally for economic survival. They say a ban on drilling is hurting their jobs. Well, I found out there is something you can do to help some businesses along the Gulf Coast. It is a unique St. Louis effort to send help and hope to the Gulf. You can participate. Good news for a change. Watch for that coming up right here at 1024.
Take a look at this surveillance video. It's from the zoo in Toledo, Ohio. It shows an elephant attacking a zookeeper. The zookeeper first approached Louis the elephant with a carrot. The animal didn't want it, shied away. The keeper tried a second time. That's when the elephant charged, pinning the keeper in the corner and hitting the keeper with its tusk. The elephant backed away eventually, and that allowed the zookeeper to escape without getting hurt. In Milwaukee, this is an unusual stop for police. That is a motorized shopping cart swerving in the road. Police say the 19-year-old at the controls was drunk. He told police he was too buzzed to ride his bicycle home. An employee at the nearby grocery store called police when the man drove off with one of the carts.
Well, we've been showing you all the flash flooding and the damage. Now, here's what tonight's storm looked like as it moved over Peebly, Missouri, and over Troy, Missouri. Whenever you see weather moving in, you can send your pictures to the UNews section of KMOV.com. We thank the viewers for those pictures.
What a fierce storm.
Really was. And it wasn't that we had any severe weather in the sense that there was no wind or hail, at least not damaging wind or hail. There was lightning and the flooding, and it was tremendous. And we still have flash flood warnings out there for about the next 20 minutes or so for St. Louis and Madison County in Illinois, St. Clair County in Illinois as well. But a lot of this water is starting to subside. And, you know, in the urban areas, it does tend to be kind of short term. But as Vicki said, and I think that's a good term for it, fierce, because, man, when you're talking about 3 inches of rain coming down in less than an hour, that is going to make for some tremendous flooding. This you like to see. There's not much going on the radar. Now, there's still a front up to the north of us. I don't see any of those squall lines that have been coming our way round after round the past few days, so that's great news for the overnight. I think overnight we're just going to deal with a spotty shower storm, kind of like what we're seeing starting to develop there in Crawford County in Missouri. Nothing coming into St. Louis, but this little guy right there is a brief moderate shower, maybe a little bit of thunder with it as well as it slides across Crawford County and into Washington County. It looks like if it continues just due east, it'll probably stay north of Potosi, at least the core of that will. So an isolated little shower storm here or there. The damage was done though earlier today, and it was really hit or miss. Take a look at some of the numbers here. 2.97 inches out in Jennings. Chesterfield, 0.06. Few drops in the bucket. Out in Mascoutah, a little over 1.5 inches. But I mean, it was hit or miss, and when it hit, like up in North City, North County, and the Metro East, it hit hard. Now we're going to be dealing with just some mugginess, a lot of humidity out there as well. Temperatures at 78 degrees in St. Louis. Our high was 94 degrees. I expect some hotter temperatures on the way. In fact, the Weather Service has issued a heat advisory. Now it's for the entire viewing area here as we head into tomorrow and Friday, the next 2 days. The heat index, that feels like temperature, 100 to 110 degrees. And the key to remember with this heat index, we talk about that a lot, and I always try and remind you, that's based on the shade. If you're in the full sun, if you're a construction worker, a postal worker, and you have to be outside and you're in the full sun, you have to add about 10 to 15 degrees to that. And it can feel like 120, 125 if you're in that direct sun. Hopefully you have a little bit of cloud cover or you can get in the shade. Either way, it's still going to be very hot over the next couple of days. We still have a storm chance too. Let me take you through your day tomorrow. 6 a.m. A few storms possible with that front still in the northern part of our viewing area. Low around 75 degrees, really humid, especially after all that rain we've seen. What's going to happen though as we head towards around lunchtime and early afternoon, this is noon, we're going to see a few storms line up mainly north and northeast of St. Louis. So anywhere east of St. Louis has the best chance for a storm in the late morning to early afternoon. Otherwise heating up, 91 degrees at lunchtime. 96 is going to be our high, and eventually the heat helps push those storms in the afternoon farther to the north. But that's why it's going to be such a hot day, because that heat's moving in. 95 degrees by 5 o'clock for the evening drive. There's your heat index around 100 to 110. The hottest day of the year, that could be coming our way on Fridays. It gets even hotter. A high of 98 degrees. Heat index around 105 to 110. And notice that front out there to the northwest. That eventually is going to move in, bring us another round of some storms over the weekend and cool down the temperatures a little bit at least. But it's not going to come until it looks like Saturday evening on into Sunday. And so that still means Saturday is going to be a pretty hot day as well. So the heat's going to turn out to be really the big story over the next couple of days. After a morning storm chance tomorrow, 96 degrees. 98 on Friday, going to be a hot one. If you're going to see Sarah Bareilles at Celebrate St. Louis Summer Concert Series down at Soldier Memorial, whew, that's going to be a steamy one. 97 degrees on Saturday. Watching that front move in and bring some storms, most likely Saturday evening on into Sunday. And that front stalls out, and that's why I still have a chance of storms Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Kind of a similar pattern to what we've been dealing with the past few days. Could kind of recreate itself Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. Slightly cooler temperatures, which we'll take.
An encore we don't want.
We don't want it, do we?
Thanks,
No.
Steve.
All right, looking to help businesses along the Gulf Coast dollar by dollar. I'll tell you how you can do it. It's good news for a change.
Well, the big bats are at it again for the Cardinals. Pujols and Holiday both producing. Our sports director, Steve Savard, shows us if it is enough for another win.
You're watching News 4 in high definition.
But tonight, of course, everyone is still hoping that the oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico is truly contained. Even if it is, the damage to that region's summer tourism industry, well, the damage is already done. We found a St. Louis business owner who's organizing his own Gulf caravan, trying to deliver help and hope. Another inspiring example of good news for a change.
Is that going to be all for you today?
At the Coffee Cartel on the Central West End, the signs are everywhere. All the signs touting a special trip to the Gulf Coast.
I just can't imagine the devastation and loss of business.
Owner Dennis George is behind this effort.
For weeks I've been watching just the spill and the disaster and thinking, what can we do as a small business? And it struck me that the thing they need most is customers.
So he's organizing his own Gulf Caravan. The idea, simple. Support businesses hurt by the oil spill by spending money in their shops. It sounds to me as if you're going to lead an economic crusade.
It really is kind of like an economic crusade, and I don't want anybody to do it. And people can join us. They can drive with us.
George is accepting donations at his shop and online with promises to spend whatever he gets at Gulf businesses.
It's not a donation, it's not a charity, it's you're helping a business in the Gulf directly.
Your economic stimulus package is going to actually excite things.
I think so. I hope so. I mean, you know, when you got this business on the phone and he's crying because we're going to show up to his business.
That money is going to be spent on the spot.
That business, dollar for dollar to that business. You know, we're going to show up in a small place and hopefully take over, you know, and I hope.
Won't that be a great scene? The store owner has been devastated. Look up and here come 30 to 40 to 80 folks just suddenly pouring in.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Dennis George says if nothing else, he wants to show Gulf Coast residents that Americans in St. Louis and all around the country care. We have more information on how you can donate help. Check our website, KMOV.com. Also, check out my blog on my Facebook page. Add your reaction to this effort. Got some good news for me? Email me, Larry@KMOV.com.
The news keeps getting better for the Cardinals. Kyle Loesch is moving closer to his return, and rookie Jaime Garcia turns in another quality start tonight. The streak and the Central Division lead grow. The Cardinal streak hits 8 tonight. Jaime Garcia and the bullpen pitch very well. Albert Pujols, Matt Holliday, and Felipe Lopez providing enough offense in a 5-1 win over the Phillies. No score until the 4th. That's when Albert gets busy against Joe Blanton. That base hit scores John Jay. Cardinals on top. Garcia allowed just 1 run in 7 innings, and here it is, a 5th inning blast by Ryan Howard. His 22nd tied the game at 1. Top 7 now. Phillies load the bases with 2 outs, and Charlie Manuel lets his pitcher hit. Garcia carves him up. Inning over. Bottom 7, Holliday leads off with a frozen rope to the seats and left. That is the Express. His 18th gave the Cardinals a late inning lead. Bottom 8, some insurance runs off the bat of Felipe Lopez, a 2-run double. Cardinals win 5-1. It's 8 straight now, and Adam Wainwright pitches tomorrow afternoon. Kyle Loesch making progress in his rehab from forearm surgery. He threw 40 pitches to live batters today at Busch and is moving closer to a rehab assignment. In fact, he hopes to be pitching at AAA Memphis on Monday.
Before, I feel good loosening up and on most days, and then, something would kind of tighten up on me, and, I didn't have any of that today, so it was good to go out there and do it.
The second-place Reds have made an offer to former Cardinals closer Jason Isringhausen. Reds GM Walt Jocketty telling the Cincinnati Enquirer he expects Isringhausen to sign the deal. Tonight, the Nationals and their phenom Steven Strasburg gave the Cardinals some help. Strasburg struck out 7 Reds. He went 5 2/3 innings, picked up his 5th win. Christian Guzman delivers a 2-run homer here. Nationals win 8-5, so the Cardinals' lead is a game and a half. The Blues have re-signed forward David Perron to a 2-year deal worth $4.3 million. That, according to Jeremy Rutherford of the Post-Dispatch. Perron only 22. He's got great talent. The Blues are going to need him and the other young forwards to keep improving if they want to make a run at the postseason next year. Perron had 20 goals last year. He's got the talent to be a 30-goal scorer every year. In college football, Nebraska is the unanimous pick by the media to win the Big 12 North Division. Mizzou is picked 2nd. Nebraska receiving all 26 first-place votes. Mizzou the solid choice at 2nd. Nebraska, of course, leaving the Big 10 for the leaving the Big 12 for the Big 10 after next year. NASCAR news: Carl Edwards fined $25,000, docked 60 points, and placed on probation for the rest of the year for bumping Brad Keselowski intentionally in the final lap at Gateway on Saturday. It touched off a 10-car pilot. Keselowski made contact with Edwards earlier. He has also been placed on probation for the rest of the year. Big fish update.
Yes.
100,000 views at KMOV.com today for the 130-pound catfish.
Well, there's enough catfish for all 100,000 to have a bite or two.
Yeah, that's probably true. You're right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, for News 4 at 10 tonight.
News 4 St. Louis.